Hey, it's Jason. Welcome to another Primal The Awakening unboxing. We are headed into more monsters with the Metal. So if you haven't checked out, just a quick recap. Video 1, we went over the rules and kind of like overview of the game. Rule 2, we looked at majority of the components, minus stuff that maybe were specifically towards monsters or campaign stuff. Then we went through a bunch of hunter videos for all 4 core box hunters. Then we broke down monsters by element with 2 monsters per element. And we are on the final group, if you've been following the videos in order, down to the last 2 main monsters in the core box. And then we'll eventually, after that, we'll have the Awakening, which is like the main boss. But that's kind of a spoiler one, so we'll make sure we throw some spoiler ones up. If you want a reminder on how the monsters work, what their turn order is, what their cards kind of mean, check out the beginning couple minutes of the fire video for the monsters. Link in the description. Let's hop into this. We have our double monsters. So there's always the one that is kind of just like a regular type monster. So we have Tarragua. Tarragua? I'm not really sure how to say that. I'm going to keep mispronouncing it. But he's like a giant mammoth. So it's kind of cool because he's supposed to be the metal type. But he definitely kind of looks like he's maybe covered in like some sort of ice. Or it's just maybe really hardened rock. I'm not really sure. Maybe shiny metal, probably. But he's weak to fire, lightning, and feather. Fire, not exactly 100% sure. Maybe because it melts metal eventually. Lightning, metal conducts electricity or thunder. And again, feather is that one I'm sort of odd about. Maybe I'm just not understanding what the feather thing is. We'll maybe see more when we get to that campaign. Then the other one is we have Hurom, who's our substitute dragon. So this guy doesn't have wings, or he's not really Godzilla. He's more of like a wingless dragon. But I still put him in the dragon category. So he's just fire and lightning. Also, one of the few guys that only has 2 weaknesses, and none of them are expansions. But no other special stuff on their cards. So let's hop in and look at them. We're going to look at Tarragua first. Tarragua. I'm not sure where to put the letters at. Tarragua. I'll call him Tarragua. Look at this big old boy, though. Yeah, like lots of. Look, he's like a kind of like a fuzzy mane. That's kind of cool. But he has like little rock plates everywhere. He's got this hook-like tail, which is cool. These tusks are crazy. So big, giant, like shielding, like tusks around him. Plus, then he has double tusks here, double tusks here. Then he has big, giant double tusks in his teeth. The little mouth. He is a nasty one there. So I'm going to assume he's going to be hitting us fairly hard. But let's see what kind of gimmicks or ideas these guys have. So in stance 1, he is going to get resistance, which means his, when you defeat him, it does not carry over. So if you do him extra damage, he doesn't carry that over. And then he has shield 1, which I don't think I've seen before. But he doesn't take too much. This is then prologue. You're always a little bit easier in prologue. Alright, what does shield 1 do? Let's flip up stance 2 while I look this up quick. On stance 2, we are going to get resistance and shield 1. Whenever he is revealed, or when this card is revealed, he gains acceleration 1. Alright, so we have 2 different abilities to look up. Let's look up shield first, since it's on both cards. Shield. Shield X. Anytime a source of damage would deal damage to monsters that damaged by X, where X is a current stance card that has X shield. Okay, so basically he takes 1 less damage every single time he would take a hit. That's not terrible, but it's still going to be frustrating, right? You have to deal that. And then the other one is acceleration. I think he just gains extra boost tokens. So we have acceleration token. The monster gains acceleration for specific abilities. Each time that happens, place an acceleration token on the monster board. During the upkeep, gains 1 additional struggle for each acceleration token. So, yeah, when this reveals, you can also start gaining 1 extra. Again, 1 might not seem like much, but, over the course of a game, it's going to add up. And then when he hits stance 3, he gains shield 2. So, he has extra defense. That's cool. And it's just built in, so it's not like the Hurom monsters which had hardening. They had to build that up. He just automatically has it. So in stance, for level 1, in stance 1, he has resistance and shield 1. Then stance 2, he gains same abilities as before, resistance, shield 1, and gains an acceleration token. And then in stance 3, he has shield 2. So yeah, not too bad so far. Little difficult, but nothing not manageable. In level 2 for stance 1, he's going to start with resistance and shield 2. This is a bad combination though, because this would be kind of a pain, because that means they're automatically going to block damage. Plus, it's just going to take more to build them up, and then if you do manage to get some massive hit out, it's not going to carry over anyhow. In stance 2, he has resistance, shield 2, and gains an acceleration token. And in stance 3, he gains shield 3. So in level 3, he is going to have, resistance, shield 3 at the start of the round. Search the attrition deck for a card with the attrition value of 0 and remove it from the game. Then shuffle the attrition deck. So he's going to get rid of that 0 right off the bat. Oh, that's going to be kind of difficult to deal with. In stance 2, resistance, shield 3, gains an acceleration token. And then finally in stance 3, he has shield 4, and when revealed, gains an acceleration token. Also note that he has some of the lowest toughness. Most guys, by the time they hit level 3, stance 3, they have about 30. He only has 22. But because he has shield 4, that's fine, because he's going to constantly avoid 4 damage every single hit. We were saying 22 per player, so if you're saying a 2-player game, that's 44 damage. But he's automatically going to block 4, so it's essentially saying it's 48 damage you need to do, right? So it does make a difference. Cool. Let's see how the rest of his cards bolster that. In his perils, we have in stance 1, he has a permanent. When the attrition deck is emptied, he gains 1 struggle per player. Wailing Roar. And then the fact is he immediately, on that level 3, can immediately get rid of a 0. Makes it a little bit easier to happen. And that'll be definitely this. Attrition deck is empty, gains 1 struggle per player, and is unstoppable until the end of the round. Oh boy, why do you gotta be so difficult? That's what he's gonna be. He's just gonna be a giant difficult guy to deal with. And then, as a reminder, unstoppable means each time a behavior is triggered, they gain extra struggle. So he's definitely going to be working on gaining his struggle tokens up. He has another peril for stance 3. He does not have one for stance 2. He has 1 struggle per player or more. All weapon cards are considered to be blank. Oh, so that's why he wants it. He's unscratchable. So as he gets more, as the game goes on, he's not going to be able to be hurt by weapons. He'd still be hurt. He can't use their abilities. In the harder version, when he has 1 per player struggle or more, the shield value is increased to 6. And all weapons are to be blank. Oh boy. So they still get good their damage value, they just don't get their special abilities, which is half the reason why you really pick a weapon, right? His objective is for stance 2, which is a permanent, so it goes through from then on. Slash to the throat. When a behavior card with the front reaction is revealed, the active player may discard an attack from their hand. If they do, cancel the effect of that behavior and inflict vulnerable. Cool. So it's very neat, but it's very specific. You have to be in the front, and you have to have a red card you can discard. But vulnerable means he'll take twice as much damage. And then the harder mode says reveal in front, may discard. If they do, they can't do the effect. Just doesn't give him vulnerable anymore. Okay, cool. So nothing crazy or out of the ordinary for him so far. Just basically a lot of defense and shield and stuff. Alright, so for our behaviors, we have a rampage action, aggressive posture. Gains 1 per player, -1 struggle. The shrill sound pierces your ears and bounces off the walls of the mountain. Tarragua rears wildly, then lands with a deafening thud, ready to charge. Ooh. So he's getting mad. Gains 1 struggle for each player in the front sector. Cool. At the end of the round, he is going to Abominable Charge. Each player in the front sector suffers an attack unless they reveal 2 green dodge cards from their hand. If a player does reveal those cards, they must immediately move without paying any stamina cost. At least you have to pay for it. But it does get you out of his front sector. Which, I just want to relook at his weakness cards. So yeah, his front sector is almost, every single stance is not vulnerable. So being in his front sector is never really going to be helpful for you. But I'm sure he's going to have ways to try and keep turning towards you. Because he has that big, helmeted shield, basically. Each player in his front sector suffers damage times 2. Otherwise, it's the same. If you're in the front sector, he has Spidery Grasp. So he did look like he had something on him, but it looks like webbing. I thought it was maybe... So is he like a weird behemoth spider? That's interesting. The active player skips their movement phase this turn unless another player, either in the same sector or an adjacent one, discards an attack card. If he plays a boost, the active player suffers an attack unless they reveal a green card from their hand. Interesting. Active player becomes dazed and skips their movement phase this turn unless another player plays discards an attack card from their hand. In the boost, the active player suffers an attack unless they reveal a number of green cards equal to the current attrition level. Wow. And I think the attrition level is whatever cards on top of the attrition deck at the time, or discard pile. Yeah, and then daze means that their next blue card does not have any effect on them. Interesting. When he turns, he has his Hammertail. Each player in the rear sector suffers an attack unless they discard a green card. Each threatened player in the flank sector suffers unless they reveal a green card from their tail. So he's going to kind of swing and smack everybody. Threatened players in the flank and rear suffer attack +1. Threatened players in the flank suffer another attack +1 unless they reveal a defense card from their hand. A green card from their hand. Each other player in the flank and rear suffer an attack unless they discard a green card from their hand. Wow. That's gonna hurt. Oh, excuse me. So this is kind of fun. So we have another one of the currents. So these are 2s and these are 3s. So there's a little bit of a difference there. But we have another Hammertail. So I believe it works the exact same as the previous one. Yep. And then the other one, whoops. And the other one's gonna have the same effect as well. But he gets, so he gets double Hammertails. Which is the only monster, I think, in the entire game, including expansions. There might be one other one. I think there's only one other one other than him in one of the expansions that has the same name card twice. Otherwise, they Excuse me, otherwise they always have different names, which is really a fun little idea. If you play a green dodge card, Rumbling Stomp gains 1 per player -1 struggle and gains +1 damage till the end of the round. In the harder one, active player becomes threatened and he gains 1 per player struggle and gains +3 attack till the end of the round. His hard one's gonna be hard. Okay, so these are kind of interesting ones as well. I kind of just spotted them. So if you're in the front sector, on the easier side, he's gonna have Metal Sting. His shield value is increased by 1 until the end of the turn. The golden hues on Tarraga's armor glitter and the razor sharp blades. There's a weapon that can put a dent in its armor. Interesting. Then the harder version, it goes from Metal Sting to Archeum Sting, which is Archeum is the name of the metal in this game. Shield Bell increases by 4 to the end of the turn. Why is the difficult one so much more difficult? Oh boy. Usually it's like a little bit harder, but it seems like they're abusive in this guy. At the end of the attrition step, Crushing Horns. If Tarragua has suffered damage this turn, each player in the front sector and flank suffers attack unless reveal 2 green from their hand. And then the other Crushing Horns, it suffered damage. Each player suffers an attack unless reveal 2 green. And a boost, discard the top 3 cards of the attrition deck, which he likes to empty. So that's helpful for him. And then his final behavior cards are red. And they will be Rampaging Horns. Tarragua turns to the active player, that player may immediately move. That's kind of neat. They don't have to move, but they have the option. Turns the active player to suffer an attack unless they immediately move. The cost of movement is increased by 1. So the other one, yeah, it's forcing to move. All of a sudden, Tarragua turns around and scythes through the rock with its huge metallic fangs. That's crazy, right? So yeah, he turns around and rips through with his giant fangs here. Yeah, so he's kind of neat. So basically, he's like his overall stuff. Like he has some brutal attacks and does lots of stuff, lots of extra damage. But I think it's just his thing is he's dense. He's gonna be hard to damage with all his extra shields. Yeah, so that's going to be the trick with him. Alright, let's hop into our last monster. We have Hurom. There's Hurom there. With metallic scales. It's kind of a cool idea. He's the only guy that's actually like on something. Everybody else just had like a little bit of rocks and stuff on their base. He's actually crawling up like on stuff. I think the only other one would have been Kajera at the beginning. I think he had a couple of rocks in him too. And then there's his front sector, which is kind of interesting because his is right where his head is, but he's facing the other way, where Kajera's was like his head was facing the direction he was looking. It's kind of interesting. But he's like our pseudo dragon. Let's look at our first stance card. We'll have to back out just a bit there. So he has resistance. Ooh, so he's gonna be a shieldy boy, I'm sure. So he has at the start of round 1, placing Arcanium token in the front sector. So we're gonna place tokens in here. And again, Arcanium. I'm gonna probably keep saying it wrong. Arcanium. Archeum is the metal in the game, so we get these little tiny extra metal tokens. And do they do anything in and of themselves? I don't think so. Other than just they're played. Let's see. As described in the Floating Stones peril card, these tokens protect Hurom from the player's attacks. When you attack a player, if you're in a sector with one of the tokens, that token prevents any damage you would normally deal to Hurom. Then remove a token from the board. Each sector can have a maximum of 1 per player. So you can have up to 4 in each sector, or if you're playing with more players, you can have more. Yeah, 1 per player. So that could be bad, because that, it helps him block all damage. Well, again, we'll see that with the peril card it looked like. In 2, he has resistance and shield 1, so he's gonna have shields as well. But also, you notice he only has 2 toughness. So he's not as strong as Tarragua. But yeah, he's gonna get them if he gets some tokens in there. We're gonna be able to shuffle one of Hurom's special attrition cards into the attrition deck. Ooh, so we're gonna just see how those work. We'll look at them at the end of the stances. In stance 3, shield 1. When revealed, remove all rock terrain from the board. So he gets rid of extra things. Cool. When we flip him over to side 1, so level 1, he has stance 1. Resistance, place a token in the front sector. Stance 2, resistance shield 1. Shuffle attrition card in. Again, he doesn't take as much damage as some of the other guys, or toughness. Remove all rocks from the terrain board. So rocks lets you avoid attrition damage. So again, he's going to play special attrition in there. And he's going to get rid of rocks so you can't block them. In level 2, he has stance 1. He has resistance and 2 shields. At the start of the round, Hurom gains one per player struggle, and then place tokens in the front and rear sector. And then level 2, stance 2, he has shuffle 2 of his attrition cards into the attrition deck. And then for level 3, 3 shields and remove all rock terrain from the board. Alright, in level 3, he starts off with 15 toughness 4 attack. Resistance and shield 3. Start round 1, gains 1 struggle per player. Place 1 celebration token. And places tokens in the front and rear sector. Oh, he's going to start out as a meanie. That's awesome. Stance 2, resistance, shield 3. Remove revealed, shuffle 2 of his special attrition cards into the deck. And again, stance 3, shields 4. Remove all rocks from the board. All players in a sector with a token suffer attack +1. So 6 attack. Ooh. Nasty. Alright, let's take a look at his peril cards quick, and then we'll jump into those attrition cards. So in level 1, we have, or stance 1, he has permanent and immune to blind. We have floating stones. When a rock terrain is removed from the board, place an Archeum token in that same sector. Red, if there's an Archeum token in your sector, prevent any damage that would be dealt to Hurom, then remove that token from the board. So it's only red damage, though. That's interesting, though. So if you have something else, some other way to deal damage to him, other than your weapon, like if you have an armor or a special item that does damage somehow, it won't happen. It only happens if you play a red card. But still, being immune to blind means that you can't put something on this to cover this up. So it's always going to be active. And then permanent means it'll stay around. So then when he hits that third one, he removes all the rocks. He's going to place a bunch of extra tokens out. This is the same exact thing. Alright. Then he has 1 for 3. He does not, much like the other guy, does not have a stance for level 2. But it says, Heart Hunger. When a player suffers attrition damage, he gains 1 struggle per player. Oh boy. So he's going to try and unleash, or he's on a bunch of boosts. Infuriate, 5, 9, and 15. When a player suffers attrition, gains 1 struggle per player. Infuriate means when you do your add struggle at the beginning of the upkeep. If each player checks for a aggro symbol, the red symbol on their cards, collectively, if the entire group has at least 5, he gains 1 extra struggle. If they have at least 9, he gains 2. If they have 15, he gains 3. So not a huge ton, Kind of shield where blocking 1 damage isn't that big of a deal, but, you know, every little bit does make a difference. And then he has Hit the Tail. I get this as a mechanic for these guys. It's the only thing one of the few things I disliked about this, because there's so many cards that have all these different names. Even if they have similar effects, they name them different. But then they just kept naming these guys. Like, 3 of these cards are called Hit the Tail for objectives. I wish they could have came up with something else like Slash the Tail, Ping down the tail, even something like that. Just hitting the tail 3 times seemed a little, it's a little annoying to me, I guess. But it's minor. But he has permanent. His shield is reduced to 0 for players in the rear sector. So once he hits second, if you can get behind him, you can smash him harder. Crazy. And then we have the harder one. It's reduced by 2 for players in the rear sector. So it doesn't even reduce it all the way. Just makes it easier. That's fun. So alright, then he has some attrition cards. So they'll have these. He only has 2 of them. They do the exact same thing, but they have 2. So it's a little bit harder to defeat. It says when revealed, gains 1 struggle. If the active player suffers from attrition this turn, he gains an additional struggle. So yeah, you get one thing that adds them, and the harder one adds both of them in there. Cool, they don't start the game out there. Alright, his behavior deck. Let's hop into this. If you move, he is going to quick attack you. Which has reflexes. So we haven't had mention of this on any of the, usually they're on the peril cards. This is interesting. The active player attacked or suffers an attack unless the top card of their discard pile is a green card. Which means that would be the last card you played. Or maybe discarded for another effect. The active player suffers an attack and becomes threatened unless the top card is a green. A rampaging card. So if something else triggers, he will also get the Artium Barrage. Each player in the front sector suffers an attack unless they reveal a yellow card. Boost, enhancement. If there's an Artium token in the front sector, players must reveal 2 instead. Awesome. And then the harder side adds reflexes. Gets damage times 2. And then the enhancement says if there's an Artium token in the front sector, must discard a yellow card from their hand instead of revealing it. That's mean. We have if he moves at all, if he rotates, he does Rapid Claws. Hurom gains per player -1 struggle. Each player in the front sector must either discard a yellow from their hand or suffer damage times X or plus X for X's number of cards with reflexes in the behavior discard pile. So he looks like he's targeting yellow cards. We haven't seen that too much. People that target red cards, blue cards, green cards, not too many yellow, but that's kind of fun. Gains struggle 1 per player. Each player in the front sector must either discard a yellow from their hand or suffer damage plus X, or X is a number of things. Okay, same thing, just he gets an extra struggle. At the end of the round, he is going to have Artium Control. Placing Artium token in each threatened sector, max 1 per player per sector. Any boost if an Artium token is in the Argo player sector. Place 1 in the Argo token sector. Oh, great. So he's just going to get to place a ton of these metal tokens around, which are going to shield him. So you can kind of imagine these as being like, he can somehow, like, these are metal, right? Like, you can, like, shoot out, like, metal rods or have them, like, rip from the ground or something, like, maybe, like, magnetic control. Like, that's kind of what this is seeming like. You can pull these Artium metal pieces out to help block him, and then now you have to deal with them before you can hit him. Each player in the threatened sector suffers an attack +1 unless they discard a yellow card. Then place an Artium token in each occupied sector. Boost, place an Artium token in the aggro sector player. Okay, so there's a big difference between these two cards. Place 1 in each threatened sector, and instead each threatened sector takes damage, potentially, and then you place a token in every sector regardless, as long as there's someone. Ooh. These metal guys don't mess around on their harder sides. If you play an attack card, Silver Fang, the active player suffers an attack unless they have 3 or more cards in their hand. You might want to trigger this early. Boost, moving Arcane token from an adjacent sector to the active player sector. So then you can just avoid that damage anyhow. After or the next damage. Active player suffers and becomes threatened unless they have 3 or more cards. And then moves a token. Cool. In green, you play a green card for dodging. You have Arceum Fury. Hurom gains 1 shell for each Arceum token on the board, which again, you can have 1 per player. So, in each sector, so if you have a 4-player game, you could potentially have 16 tokens out. I don't know if you'll ever get that bad, but that could be very bad for you. Hurom moves like a snake, slithering through the rocks, which sparkle and vibrate as it passes. Gains 1 shell for each Arceum token on the board. Active player may draw 1. If they do, he gains 1 additional struggle. That's interesting. At the end of the round, he will... The Tempest of Claws. Hurom targets the player who currently sustains the most damage. The targeted player suffers an attack unless they discard a yellow from their hand. If they do suffer damage, then Hurom targets the next player clockwise in the same way until either a player prevents the damage or all players are targeted once. That's awesome. I don't want to fight that, but that's an awesome ability, right? He just whirlwinds around and hits everybody. So the same thing, except now they suffer damage times 2. And it has reflexes, which will trigger other stuff. That's awesome. Ooh, we have this. We haven't seen this too often. Every time we usually see this, there's a card that like pulled it out or told it to play. But this means this triggers immediately. Steel Serpent. Hurom turns to the players currently sustains the most damage. Suffer an attack unless they reveal a yellow from their hand. Reflexes. It's all based on these parry cards. And then the harder one. If his health is 3 or lower, he gains 1 struggle per player. And then it does the same effect. At least you only have to reveal a card, right? You're not being forced to discard it. And then his final behavior card, if he is in the front sector, he'll have an Arceum Shield. Hurom's eyes shine malevolently as the Arceum-rich stones rise all around to form a glittering barricade. So that's happening. Boost 1, place an Arceum token in the active player sector. I'm going to guess this is going to place it in all sectors. Place an Arceum token in each flank sectors. And then Boost, place a token in the active player sector. Cool, so you get a bunch of these tokens, which again, 100% prevent damage. Basically, you hit them, and they're just going to get rid of them. So then, that's that mechanic where you have to decide, do you try and move to a different side that doesn't have those tokens? Or do you just play cards to try and, like, alright, I'm not going to be able to hurt them. I can play 3 attack cards this turn. I'm just going to get rid of 3 of these tokens, and that's going to be my turn. So maybe somebody else can do something, or it's not affecting them. That's pretty cool. So yeah, he gains regular shields as well, just to take less damage. There's whole things about bringing these stones up to protect him. And this again, he's targeting your yellow cards a bunch, which is cool. Yeah, so those are our metal monsters. That is all the base monsters for the thing. We still have the Awakening, which is the boss. The next video will probably be going over campaign stuff. Where I'll look at the campaign item cards as well as just some campaign rules and structures of that, just in case people are interested in the campaign mode of this, what it is exactly, or how it works. And then we'll look at the Awakened at the end, or the next video after that, because he is a campaign boss, essentially. He has some secrets that we want to kind of hide. Alright, hope you guys are enjoying the videos. Check out the other ones. Hit me up in the comments. See you guys later. Bye.